Hi, and welcome to Cage Minds MMA Show. I'm Mika Frankla. The website is cageminds.com. Whether you're listening or watching, it's appreciated. Please like, share, and subscribe. Pick up the new merchandise, nmproshop.com. Easiest way to redirect you right to where you need to go. And you'll see the Cage Minds store. Click on it. Got hoodies, beanies, the original t-shirt, coffee mugs, all available. The support would be much appreciated. We got a lot to talk about today, so let's get to it. Let's go to last week and start off with the action. LFA 123, bantamweight main event. Talked to him last week, and Dan Argueta promised us he was going to inflict a beating on Marian Santos in the fashion like I saw him produce through the amateurs, taking strikers, putting them on their back, demoralizing them, beating them down. Relentless takedowns, top pressure, that grind, that work ethic, it pays off, and Argueta gets the TKO win. Still unbeaten, it's 7-0. That finishing rate is still incredible, and it's either a title fight or the call-up to the UFC for the determined one. Co-main event, Askar defeats Abramov 29-28 across the board. Both landed big shots in the first round. Abramov got the takedown. That's probably his round. Second and third rounds, Askar got his jab working, utilized his size to close the distance, got the takedown, held that top position, back in the win column, and looking incredible. Askar looking like a new fighter coming out of Factory X. Josh Streaker, it's a new weight class. He's down at 155. Drops Miguel Jacob twice in the first round. Overhand right was working. The second and third rounds were a little bit closer because you could see Jacob with a great resolve, no stop, big kicks, but Streaker kept controlling the distance, the exchanges. His hooks were coming from awkward angles, still clipping Miguel Jacob, and in the end, like we said, the unanimous decision goes in favor of Josh Streaker, now 2-0 at 155 pounds. Logan Nail, big knockout, got hit low, and after the break, reset right hand, reset right hook, knocking down Halston Williams, jumps on top, the ground and pound finishes for the TKO. Full results for LFA 123 up at cageminds.com. That was Friday night. Then we'll jump on over to Saturday. UFC Vegas 47 from the Apex. Sean Strickland, Jack Hermanson in the main event, talking about top 10. It was number 6 and number 7 in the middleweight division. Strickland, his jab, his overhand right, his right hook to the body, his T kick leading up to the head kicks. Great work going on from Strickland all night. Hermanson, devastating leg kicks. Couldn't really get his hands going. Went far in the takedown department. The fight would go the distance. The fight was called a split decision. A little bit surprising. We're talking about 63-11 in head strikes landed in favor of Strickland. 38-0 according to the strike metrics in leg kicks in favor of Hermanson. Both did diligent work to the body. It was hard to see, though, with the continued forward pressure from Strickland giving much value to the Hermanson leg kicks that weren't damaging, that weren't impeding the pressure and weren't changing the fight. I thought it was a clear win for Strickland. One judge did not feel the same. Thankfully, they got it right in the end. What was not the most exciting fight ever? Well, Strickland was barking at Hermanson to stay in the pocket, and possibly himself was taking himself out of the pocket in the last 30 seconds. We saw Strickland 100% takedown defense, still with this incredible offensive attack that Hermanson had no answer for. I am totally prepared to see what Sean Strickland looks like against the next level of competition, moving into that top 5. Does he take on his training partner, Marvin Vettori, for the two of them to stay relevant? Does the winner of one of the fights that we're talking about this weekend possibly take on Strickland? I think there's a lot of promise and still a lot of talent. Did not get the finish here. May not have that one-punch knockout power, but he has a chin. He has cardio, throws in volume. There's still a lot to like about what Sean Strickland did in a methodical fight. Even he said he was disappointed, in much more colorful language, with his output and his aggressiveness in the fight. It's now a 6-fight win streak overall for Strickland, so everything keeps on moving up. In the co-main event, Nick Maximov defeats Puna Soriano by split decision himself. Maximov ate a knee, got busted open on the inside of his left eye near the bridge of his nose, spent the rest of that first round on Soriano's back, and was just stuck to Soriano for most of the rest of the fight, even looking like causing a knee injury in the third round when Soriano was trying to sprawl out on some takedown defense. 6 takedowns, 4.5 minutes of control time, took some damage, didn't deliver too much, but controlled and threatened. And when all that we had to judge was the grappling, and Maximov was in control of that grappling, he gets the victory. It may have not, again, been the most action-packed fight, but a very young fighter, 24 years old, 8-0, a solid victory. Feature fight, the most exciting prospect to come out of this card. Talked about it last week. Thought it was going to be this man. Shavkat Rakhmonov gets the first round knockout of Carlston Harris. Rakhmonov with the precision strikes, forcing Harris to swing wildly. A back kick to the liver from Rakhmonov looked like it took the win right out of Harris. Harris, though, to his credit, cat-like balance, avoiding several bodylock trip takedowns. Did get tossed, but scrambled back up. Eventually, we'd see Rakhmonov with an out-of-nowhere spinning hook kick. Partially lands, but has enough on it to knock Harris to his backside. From over top comes the standing ground and pound, and a couple right hands tee off on the jaw. The second one putting Carlston's lights out. Brendan Allen takes a fight with Sam Alvey on day's notice. We're talking about on Tuesday taking the fight. Saturday he fights Alvey with a more active than normal first round. Looked like he was in control of that round until Allen gets a knockdown off of the right hand at the end of the round. Going to the body with the right, up high with the left hook in the second. Scores the knockdown. Allen gets the choke arm under the neck, takes the back, no hooks in, gets the rear naked choke, and sends Alvey to a streak where he is winless in his last 8. A huge rebound for Brendan Allen from the loss to Chris Curtis. Brian Battle, Treshan Gore, the run back of the Ultimate Fighter finale that never happened. First round, Brian Battle will push back, still threw in volume. Looked like Gore was looking for the perfect moment. Gore stuns Battle twice in the second round. Goes for a deep ninja choke attempt. Battle is in survival mode. His right eye is swelling up dramatically. And then in the third round, we go back to the first round. Gore not able to find that moment, not able to get in range, constantly having to deflect and deal with the Battle volume. It was 112 to 57 in landed strikes overall. First round, third round, go to Battle. Brian Battle wins a unanimous decision, and much credit to gutting out the third round, where I'm sure he could honestly not see out of that right eye. Not that that would matter for any reason in combat sports. Fight of the night opened up that main card. Julian Erosa, Steven Peterson. It goes to a split decision. Erosa cut Peterson under his left eye, busted his nose up in the first round. Peterson's teeing off with his right hand. No left side defense from Erosa, but Erosa does score a knockdown with a spinning back fist in the latter moments of that second round. Erosa in the third, the takedown, escapes a guillotine. Big right hands from both, but Erosa comes away with 2 takedowns also in that third round to get the split decision. On the prelims, John Castaneda, heavy pressure on top of Miles John. That was our featured prelim. It ends up being a technical submission finish. The heavy pressure, big right hands in the second and the third rounds. Hurts John, a knee up the middle for the knockdown in the third. John's on his left hip, trying to slide away, and Castaneda slides right on top, up, and into the arm triangle position to get the technical submission, putting Miles John to sleep. In featherweight competition, we saw Hakeem Dawanu against Mike Trisano. This was the best fight I have seen from Dawanu, a full 15 minutes. It's 141-70 in landed strikes. Trisano cut on his right cheek, busted up around his left eye. Dawanu ripping to the body, great teep kicks, low kicks. He looked fast, and that jab was stinging. In middleweight action, 16 seconds is all it took as Chidienja Kawani goes jab, overhand right, and takes out Marc-Andre Bertrell. In women's bantamweight action, Alexis Davis gets 3 takedowns, escapes 3 arm bars, and outlands Juliana Storienko 171-93, 43-4 in strikes on the ground, and that was 9 minutes of top time from Alexis Davis. Impressive grappling. Halton Almeida takes Danilo Marcus to the ground, a double leg, goes 2-on-1 trying to grip the wrist behind Marks, use that distraction to advance his way to mount, and pounds out the finish quickly. Philip Rowe, also with a big knockout of Jason Witt. Rowe gets off the bottom, got taken down 4 times, but would not quit scrambling. Straight right, left hook, straight right for the knockdown. Hammer fist, and that's back-to-back wins for Philip Rowe. Still 100% finishing rate. And the night kicked off with flyweight action. Malcolm Gordon defeating Dennis Bonnard. Gordon, double jab. Right hook, left hook, drops Bonnard. Bonnard in on a takedown. Armbar from Gordon forces Bonnard to escape. And it appears at that point we actually have a dislocated elbow from Bonnard that he's fighting through. But we don't know that yet. They're back up and Bonnard's clinching. Gordon with the wizard is able to take control. Switches the position against the fence, gets the trip, they hit the ground. Bonner tries to post on his left arm, and the elbow fully pops out of place. Gordon with the head pressure forcing down Bonner, and we hear screaming. That's back-to-back wins for Malcolm Gordon, kind of in nasty fashion. I'm going to start off with some UFC fight announcements. UFC Fight Night on February 19th has added at featherweight, Gabriel Benitez versus David Owana. UFC 272 on March 5th has seen an adjustment. Igor Pretoria is out, and Nick Mariano will now be facing Kennedy Njikwe, and that isn't light heavyweight action. UFC Fight Night on March 12th has added in welterweight action Matt Semmelsberger versus AJ Fletcher. UFC Fight Night March 19th in London adds at lightweight Mike Davis versus Jai Herbert. UFC Fight Night in Columbus on March 26th adds in heavyweight action Aler Latifi versus Alexia Lenik. That one's going to be full of grappling. UFC 273 April 9th, we're adding Anthony Hernandez versus Albert Durayev. That one at middleweight. Also, at welterweight, we have Ian Gary and Darian Weeks. UFC Fight Night on April 16th adds Malesik Bahadursani versus TJ Laramie. That one is at featherweight. UFC Fight Night on April 23rd has a headliner. We're going to see number 10 ranked women's strawweight Amanda Lemoysh welcome number 1 ranked at 125 pounds back down 10 pounds Jessica Andrade, returning to strawweight, the former world champion. And in welterweight action, Sergey Khanzov versus Dwight Grant has been added. UFC Fight Night on April 30th adds Johan Linnaeus versus Gabe Green. That's at welterweight. And a women's strawweight bout that's rebooked for this card will see Luana Pinheiro versus Jessica Penne. UFC 274 on May 7th adds number 13 ranked heavyweight Blagoy Ivanov against Brazilian Marcos Rogério de Lima. That card is also gained at flyweight. Kedison Rodriguez versus CJ Varga. UFC Fight Night on May 14th adds Frank Camacho versus Miguel Torres at lightweight, and Jamal Emmers versus Daniel Pineda at featherweight. UFC May 21st Fight Night event is expected to be headlined by a top 5 women's bantamweight matchup where number 2 ranked Holly Holm will take on the number 5 ranked Caitlin Vieira, and that card is also gained Alexander Gustafsson at heavyweight against Ben Rothwell. The UFC 273 card for April 9th is expected to take place at the ViStar Arena in Jacksonville, Florida. In Bellator news, the promotion has added to the depths of their light heavyweight division, signing 13-3 Maja Razonski. LFA news, LFA 125 has been announced for February 25th, Niagara Falls, New York. Women's strawweight title fight in the main event, Jacqueline Amore versus Lavette Young. And then LFA 126 announced for March 11th, Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. The event will feature 2 world title fights, and LFA returns to America, Los Angeles, California, for LFA 127 on March 25th. A middleweight title fight will be the main event of that card. PFL news, PFL has announced their Challenger Series, continued announcement for that series, Week 4, featuring featherweights, including LFA vet Edwin Cooper Jr. Week 5 features the lightweights, and Week 6, March 25th, will feature the heavyweights, including UFC vet Bavon Lewis and former LFA champion Brett Martin. Cut. This week's action gets started early Friday morning. One championship, Bad Blood, bantamweight world title fight in the main event. Submission ace, Brazil's Bibiano Fernandes taking on fellow countryman John Hands of Stone Lineker, grappler versus vicious knockout artist in that one. The co-main event is an interim 1 Super Series kickboxing light heavyweight title bout. Anatoly Malenkov taking on Kirill Grishchenko. You also have bantamweight action featuring Jonathan Haggerty, flyweight MMA action featuring Gustavo Ballart, and of Survivor fame and former Legacy and LFA fighter B. Win. Friday continues on UFC Fight Pass with a whole host of events. Fury FC 57 going down. You have a featherweight world title fight in the main event there. Andreas the Bullet Quintana, interview up with him at CageMinds.com, taking on Hussein Aliyev. The undercard features Contender Series alum Diego Lopes, Tough 27's Delaney Perry, UFC vet Boston Salmons, UFC and PFL vet Bobby Moffitt. He's taking on Big Show vet Charles Cheeks, and you also have dynamic striker Kyle Estrada. That Fury FC 57 card quite stacked. You also have Showtime FC1, Anthony Pettis' first show on UFC Fight Pass, lightweight main event, Ago Husik against Ignacio Capella, and in featherweight action for the co-main event, you got Jacob Kilburn versus Lucas Alexander. I believe you got a couple Big Show vets popping up on that one too. Also on Fight Pass, Lux 20, Marco Beltran versus Francesco Patron Monzo. That's a bantamweight title fight in the main event. And Edgar Garcia Calba versus Eric Silva is a featherweight title co-main event. Friday night, then you also have LFA 124 on UFC Fight Pass. flyweight main event, Jussier Formiga against Felipe Buns. The two Brazilians are both tremendous on the mat. Formiga, 10 wins by submission. Buns, 8. Don't forget, Formiga, before flyweight was cool in the UFC, was the consensus #1 in the weight class. Looks to get back on track. Left the UFC after a 3-fight skid. We'll see what he has left in the tank Friday night. Co-main event is also at 125 pounds. Unbeaten Clayton Carpenter takes on Winston Ramos. Both of them 3 first-round finishes. When you talk about Carpenter, it's 2 by head kick and 1 by knee bar. Ramos, 3 first-round finishes. 1 by TKO, 2 by rear naked choke. You also have unbeaten fighters James Wilson, Waldo Cortez Acosta, and KC Tanner on the main card. Another fight to highlight on that main card at lightweight, Austin Varms, back-to-back first-round armbar victories, taking on unbeaten Jacoby Jones. A lightweight player comes out of that fight. That leads us up to Saturday night and the UFC 271. It's on pay-per-view. It's taking place at the Toyota Center in Houston, Texas. Middleweight world title rematch. Israel Adesanya defending against Robert Whittaker. Adesanya, just the raw stats, comes in with 4-inch height advantage and a 6.5-inch reach advantage. Not to mention the mental advantage of having knocked out Whittaker in the first encounter. How much different is Whittaker? How much has he changed his game? How much has he dialed back the aggression and the anger, the hostility that he felt cost him against Adesanya? Was he too burnt out? The UFC was running a ragged pace at that point. Adesanya knows what we're talking about. Adesanya has 15 of his 21 wins by knockout. Whittaker, 9 of his 23, with 5 wins by submission. So 14 finishes to 15 finishes. Adesanya and Whittaker, when we're talking about the striking activity, Adesanya, 3.94 strikes landed per minute. Whittaker, 4.68. Adesanya with a striking accuracy of 50%. Whittaker a bit lower, 41%. Strikes absorbed. Adesanya very hard to hit, 2.59 strikes per minute absorbed. Well, Whittaker a bit higher at 3.34. Defensively, though, they're both at a level of wizardry, 62 and 61% defense. They're not hit often or not hit cleanly often, even though you do see Whittaker absorb more strikes, and I think that's a perpetuation of the fact that Whittaker will get into the fire and fight in the pocket a little bit more. Not to mention that you've seen Adesanya in his last couple fights against Acosta and against Vettori really be able to dictate the fight off of his leg kicks, and that will take down his absorption numbers quite low as nothing happened. And even to the Jan Blachowicz fight, it was a lot of top control, not this overwhelming ground and pound beating. So still, those numbers will land in the favor of Adesanya. Both fighters have an impeccable takedown defense of 80%. Whittaker, though, will shoot at least one time around. He's a little bit more willing to mix up the game, where Adesanya is resound to sprawl and brawl, and he will threaten with great submissions. How much has Whittaker changed? He's definitely slowed things down. He definitely has put together, I'd say, almost a Valentina Shevchenko-like plan. It's not that he does what she does. It's that Valentina knows who she is. She has recognized what she is good at, has put together an arsenal of weapons that works for her. Her body kick, her right hand, she knows what she wants to go to, and there's just so many buttons on the controller. Too many things, too many options, may be a bad thing. Whittaker with his leg kick, his body kick, the high kick that follows behind the punches, the way he's set up, he knows what he wants to do. Will that be, though, a detriment that Adesanya is going to know what to look for? If you look at the fight that Adesanya took the most damage in, it was against Kelvin Gastelum. I think that there are bits and pieces of what Gastelum did well that Whittaker could employ. He's going to have to be able to get on the inside. He's going to have to throw in combinations, and he's going to have to give multiple targets of attack for Adesanya to be consumed with, hoping that something will land clean. You have to get by that massive reach advantage. That's not something that Whittaker's had to deal with on his way back up to the title. He was able to dictate against Till, against Gastelum, against Cannonier. It's not going to be so simple. It's going to be a 10th level, next level chess match trying to get on the inside of Israel Adesanya. Now we know that both of these guys slide in and out of range. They are both able to pop, stick, move, and dictate the terms of engagement. Who is able to get off more will mean so much in this fight. I think that it will speak volumes of Whittaker not fighting angry this time, coming in with a more composed game plan. The leg kicks are going to be crucial. How does Whittaker defend against those leg kicks? It's been the litmus test. You have to try to get by those leg kicks to get to the next level of attacking Adesanya. And as we said, Acosta and Vettori were not able to get into that range. Once you get into that range, there's a much better opportunity for success. If you're Whittaker, you have to make this fight dirty. If you're Adesanya, you're looking to dictate this fight with your jab. It's so hard to dictate anything to Adesanya. You have to try to keep him on your back foot, because if he's not all the way on the back foot and you're coming in, he's an incredible counter striker. He can lead the dance and dictate with his jab. He can dissect you with leg kicks. He can go southpaw or orthodox. This is going to be one of the highest level striking matches that we've seen ever in the middleweight division. I'm truly intrigued to see which man gets this done. Adesanya, at 185, outside of the Gastelum fight, has been unhittable. Put Whittaker on skates and made an example out of him the first time around. But this isn't the first time around Whittaker. This is a guy who's really perfected what he's good at, and has also seemed to be revitalized from not the rapid schedule of defending the title. It's a whole new ball game coming into this fight. And I had pitched it last week that the winner of Strickland versus Hermanson was right in the thick of the title mix. If Whittaker gets a victory here, are we heading towards a trilogy? That may be dictated on what happens in the feature fight. But before we get there, we should talk about the co-main event, because we got heavyweights about to bomb away on each other. It almost feels like there is no possibility that this one could be boring. I know we've seen Derek Lewis in a boring fight with Francis Ngannou before, but that was old Derek Lewis. He's healthier. He's more agile. He also recognizes his potential to earn and make an impact right now. And we've seen a different Derek Lewis since that point. Lewis has won 5 of the last 6. He has 21 knockouts. The knockout king, coming off of that vicious knockout of Chris Daukaus. The big head kick that made Daukaus go back to the cage, made him engage in the brawl, able to land the big right hand. Tuivasa on the other side comes in with 12 knockouts, a 4-fight win streak. 3 of them first round knockouts. 2 big boys throwing thunderous hammers at each other, and it's hard to not expect Derek Lewis to come out on top in his city, and a guy that you're more likely to rock to the body than we've seen him hurt upstairs. And it's hard to believe that anyone, even Francis Ngannou, throws as hard as Derek Lewis. At least that's coming from Curtis Blades. Feature fight is also in the middleweight division, number 3 versus number 4. We're talking about Jared Cannonier, 14-5, 9 knockouts, 2 submissions, taking on number 4, Derek Brunson, 23-7, 12 knockouts, 4 submissions. Brunson, a 5-fight win streak, wins over Ian Heinrichs, Edmund Shabazian, Kevin Holland, and Darren Till. Jared Cannonier has won 4 of his last 5. Had the big TKO of Jack Hermanson and a decision win over Kelvin Gastelum, rebounding from the loss to Robert Whittaker. So far, since moving down to middleweight, we haven't seen the wrestling tested of Cannonier, and Brunson definitely will do that. That's going to be his plan. Brunson shoots over 3 times per 15 minutes, is constantly looking for that takedown. He only lands it with a 34% accuracy, but does not get deterred. He's definitely going to put Cannonier's 62% takedown defense to the test. Now, as we look at strikes landed per minute, they're quite even. Cannonier at 3.6, while Brunson's at 3.45. Gotta wonder how many of those are ground and pound strikes, because strikes absorbed, it's like 3.19 for Cannonier, while Brunson only absorbs 2.68. I'm feeling like that's also some of that being on top. Striking defense, Cannonier gets out of the way. 64% striking defense, while Brunson 53%. I really feel like this fight does come down to, can Cannonier stuff the Brunson takedowns? How hard does Brunson make Cannonier work in those moments? Because I do believe that Brunson will have the deeper gas tank and be able to press this. So if we see an early finish, I'm kind of liking Cannonier. That power that came with him from heavyweight, where Brunson, who has been able to ground and pound most of these recent victories in his favor, must rely again on the wrestling and getting on top. Also on the main card, we got Kyler Phillips versus Marcelo Rojo. That one should be a banger on the feet. Let's just say it right there. Kyler Phillips looking to do something stylistically spectacular. He lost that prospect label. Rojo, we know the Argentine is all aggression. In the lightweight division, Bobby Green takes on Nasrat Haraquest. Green coming in off of the knockout of Al Iaquinta. Haraquest beat Alex Munoz, Rafa Garcias, before a loss to Dan Hooker. Both of these guys like to strike and come in, landing over 5 strikes per minute, so they're highly active. Bobby Green, you know that slick defense. If he can see it coming, he's going to make you pay. On the prelims, in the feature prelim, we got heavyweights. The veteran, the former world champion, Andrei Arlovski, takes on Jared Vanderaa. This looks like one of those cases of where Vanderaa cannot get on the inside and get his takedowns. He's going to have a long night trying to out-veteran and out-think. And Andrei Arlovski can get on his feet, use his jab, use that leg kick, or even mix up his sambo and get the takedowns. We'll see which way the former champion goes. In her retirement fight, Roxanne Modafferi is going to take on unbeaten Casey O'Neill. Modafferi's last win was the decision over Andrea Lee. O'Neill 3-0 in the UFC, coming off of a TKO of Antonina Shevchenko. A striker with a coming along ground game in O'Neill. In men's flyweight action, a rebooking of a fight that was supposed to happen at UFC 269. Number 9 ranked Matt Schnell against number 4 ranked Alex Perez. Perez fighting for the first time since shooting into the Deiveson Figueiredo guillotine. He's won 3 of his last 4, and 12 of his 24 wins are finishes. An ultra-aggressive wrestler. Well, Schnell has won 5 of his last 7. 66% finishing rate. That's 10 finishes. These guys go after it. Light heavyweight division, William Knight's jumping in on short notice to take on Maxine Grisham. Both are big finishers here. Grisham, I think, is going to look to try to utilize his grappling. Well, William Knight, we've seen it. He's going to look to bomb away. A big puncher. On the early prelims, love this fight. Ronnie Lawrence 7-1 taking on Mano Martinez 9-2. Lawrence 4 knockouts, a 4-fight win streak, coming in off of a 3rd round TKO of Vince Cachera. Well, Martinez, 8 of his 9 wins are by knockout. He's on a 3-fight win streak. It was a split decision over Guido Canetti to get his Octagon debut victory. In the lightweight division, Alexander Hernandez takes on Muay Cano. Hernandez 4-2 in 6 fights in the UFC, 3 first-round wins by knockout. An explosive striker. I mean, a fast burst, a heavy punch. He gets it done and gets it done quickly. Well, Muay Cano, he had fought for a long time at 145. Since coming up to 55, he's 2-1, both wins by rear naked choke, and he has 8 of his 15 by submission. In the lightweight division, Fabio Sharont, talented grappler. He looks to strike, but literally, when the guy gets it down to the ground, the submissions open up. He takes on New Zealand striker Carlos Ulberg. 3 wins, all by knockout. In the middleweight division, AJ Dobson had a contender series rear naked choke to earn his UFC contract. Takes down Jacob Malkoun. Malkoun, last time we saw him in the octagon, beat Razak Al-Hassan by unanimous decision. And then opening up the card, Jeremiah Wells versus Mike Mathena. Mathena has a 3-0 record. Wells, former CFFC welterweight champion, multitude of skills. Oh, I also forgot to mention in the bantamweight division, Douglas Silva de Andrade, 27 wins, 20 knockouts, takes on Sergey Morozov, 17 wins, 8 by knockout. I'm telling you, that one, they're throwing down big time. It's a fun night of fights. We got 6 early fights on the Fight Pass prelims. You got the 4-pack of middle prelims, and then you got that spectacular main card. Also pivotal night for the middleweight division. Whitaker wins, looking at a trilogy fight. Maybe Sean Strickland ends up fighting Marvin Vettori. Maybe Sean Strickland ends up fighting the Jared Cannonier, Derek Brunson winner. If the Derek Brunson, Jared Cannonier winner wants a title fight, they're going to have to do it in spectacular fashion. Because Israel Adesanya could be looking for another opponent, the next man to come challenge his throne, or we could be heading towards an epic trilogy after Saturday night. UFC 271, I'm going to be there live. Also thankful for that. Hopefully we're going to get as exciting night as I'm expecting. Keep up with Cage Minds across social media for all the content we're posting this week. That's Cage Minds Combat Sports News on Facebook, at Cage Minds_CSN on Instagram, at Cage Minds MMA on Twitter. My Twitter is at Frankl Micah. The YouTube is Cage Minds MMA Show. The podcast Cage Minds, where we put up all the videos or all the audio from the video interviews, can be found wherever you find your favorite podcast. Again, thanks for watching. Hit like and subscribe whether you're watching or listening. It's all appreciated. Have a good week. Thanks for watching.